AEW returned to Arena Mexico for a special Mexico edition of Dynamite. Will Ospreay looked to settle his issues with Mark Davis in a street fight. Hangman Page joined forces with Brody Ito to challenge the man for the Trios titles, and Carl Fletcher defended the International Championship against Speedball Mike Bailey. So a packed show, but we started things off with the Death Riders taking on the Bucks, Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. These two teams didn't wait long to start brawling. Nick and Matt inspired even Christian to fly onto the Death Riders, gaining an early advantage into the break. Mox tried to turn the tide from the break, but the surprise chemistry of their opponents caused him problems, including a doable 619 from Cope and Nick. The Patriarch delivered a low blow to Mox, followed by a triple super kick for a near fall on the Continental Champ. Shafir distracted Cope with a spear and received a low blow from Christian. After the team fought off Yuta Garcia, Cope caught Mox with a spear. Pac knocked the race star superstar into Matt and caught Cope with a roll-up and a handful of tights for the win. This is a good match, emphatically elevated by a hot crowd and interacting with everyone. Despite the 8 men in the match, Mox and Cope were overwhelmingly the focus. It was a face of time, more fresh dynamics, especially between Christian and Death Riders. Still, there was nothing but crowd-pleasing action throughout, and no one looked shy about taking a bump or delivering. Cope took the fall, but only after a miscommunication with the Bucks, which set out nicely for that dynamic at All In. Mox needs a win, but to give him more momentum into the Continental Cup stance on Collision. However, it made sense for the Death Riders to beat a group that looked good, but were understandably less cohesive, being less established themselves. So I'll get a 6 out of 10. We then had the number one contender spot in a casino gauntlet, Ciampa, Commando and El Idolo battling it out. While Ciampa tried to drive the crowd's ire early, he was taken down by the impressive rope walk of Commando. Andrade caught Commando with a clean tornado on the floor, and then found a woman Nigel McGuinness described as world-class honey for a selfie in the break. The Psycho Killer took over through the break by catching Commando mid-springboard with a strong knee strike. El Idolo knocked down Ciampa to pull off his pants for a pleased crowd. Ciampa took back and over and laid out Andrade's pants with Project Ciampa. When nothing was keeping his actual opponents down, though Ciampa argued with the ref. Andrade used the distraction to catch Ciampa with a corner meteora and then the Dia de la Muertos. Commando hit Ciampa with Solito Mundo, but Andrade caught Commando with the DM right away to win. Afterwards, Andrade told the crowd that after he would win the casino gauntlet for all of Mexico and his fellow Latinos, MJF returned to attack Andrade with a triple B, stealing back the Dynamite Diamond Ring before punching Andrade with it. The Salt of the Earth then announced he would compete in the number 2 spot qualifier for the casino gauntlet next week to prove he's the one and only world champion. Unsurprisingly, this was great, building on the athleticism of all 3 men while using the likability. Ciampa's was the ring general as the heat magnet for the World Lucha Alliance, while the Psycho Killer played his role well, as he always does. It only became clearer with the return of MJF, who's on a collision course with Andrade, and MJF has always delivered great work. It's a shame they will not fight one-on-one at All In, but hopefully they will eventually be doing that. Andrade has become one of AEW's clearest top baby faces, and the feud with MJF will solidify that. At this point, though, it seems more likely Andrade will win the casino gauntlet, but yeah, we'll have to see with the mystery entrant too. We then got Mercedes Moné and Divine Dominion versus Willow Nightingale and the Brawling Bears. Willow showed any chemistry with Jamie and Alex running over the competition with explosive offense. They even managed to knock Bane off her feet. Hayter then drove onto all the heels on the floor heading into the commercial. Cross found herself isolated by the confident Brawling Bears from the break. The Megacist turned the tide as the 2 established teams collided in the centre of the ring. Moné and Willow tagged in and gave fans prove it all in, delivering hard-hitting offense. After a clothesline, Willow teased the Babe with a powerbomb until Divine Dominion made the save. The CEO tried to catch Willow in a Maker, but Willow reversed into backside. 6 of the top women here collided and made the most of the moment. It was interesting to see the opportunity to tease 2 big matches. While Moné and Willow delivered some short sequences, it's clear they're holding back. However, the teams didn't hold back and they were selling that as a must-watch tag match. It's surprising to see Moné lose here, but I guess it's all part of the story. It should make Moné desperate as we build towards Wembley. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to the International Championship match between Carl Fletcher and Speedball Mike Bailey. Both arrived in mask, but while Speedball wore his with respect, the Protest Star stomped on it in disrespect. The hard-hitting offense of Fletcher took down Bailey early, including an avalanche Michinoku driver for 2 before the break. Speedball tried to fight back after break, firing at the Protest Star with little regard for his own body as the pace escalated. The 2 fought to the stage while Fletcher teased a brainbuster, but Bailey fought it off and hit a moonsault off the steps. Back in the ring, Speedball suffered another Michinoku driver for a near fall. Fletcher rolled to the floor with Bailey into an apron powerbomb. He followed up with a corner rocket kick and sheer drop brainbuster for a clear near fall. Bailey caught Fletcher with a tape rope and poison rana into the Weapon X for the closest near fall. The Protest Star would not be denied, picking up the victory after a lawn dart into second turn back on a turnbuckle brainbuster. Fletcher tried to celebrate his win, but Okada interrupted for his own match. The Protestar stared down the Rainmaker while raising the International Championship. And yeah, these two, they're great opponents. It was a show stealer once again. And they perhaps even outpaced their Continental Classic battle. Even if it was highly unlikely that Bayley would dethrone Fletcher, I mean, making it a triple threat would be great, I would say, still for Wembley. Without a replay, it didn't even fully look like Fletcher did get his shoulder up in time. This is a strong indicator of how big Speedball can be in AEW if they really want to go for him. He would be a great name to dethrone his former friend Kevin Knight as champion. So yeah, we'll have to see what goes for him. I'm going to go an 8 out of 10. The next match was the Don Callis family versus Mystico, Jericho and Darby Allin. Knight started the action by attacking the Daredevil during his entrance, immediately making the Jet the most hated man in the match. Okada helped the family keep control into the break with a vicious dropkick to Allin. Mystico helped rally the team in a crowd-pleasing sequence with a series of dives onto the family at ringside. Knight tried to steal a win by teasing a coast-to-coast to Allin, but Jericho caught him with a Jesus effect. As Y2J locked Okada in the walls and Mystico locked in the Mystico on Hitch, so the Daredevil laid into Knight with a coffin drop to win. While this is not a match on paper, it was a big crowd pleaser. All three babyfaces were big fan favourites, especially impressive with how much Allin was cheered on with two CMLL legends alongside him. His victory should set up a rematch against Knight, potentially a hardcore match for Wembley. And as well, seeing Mystico in Arena Mexico was great. Limited connection, but still fun. 7 out of 10. As we then got on to Persephone versus Chris Statlander, the CMLL Women's World Champion was the obvious crowd favourite despite her dirty tactics throughout. Thunder Roster was watching the action outside the ring, frequently jaw-jacking with Persephone while she supported Strat. A strong drop kick from Persephone helped her take control into the break, and she continues to challenge the power of Stat with confident aggression. Stat missed a 450 running right into a spear from Persephone. In frustration, Persephone stole Roster's Mexican national champion and blasted her with her. Stat took out Persephone but accidentally knocked down the referee at ringside. This allowed Shida to take Roster's title, blasting Stat and set up a springboard frog splash for Persephone to win. Afterwards, My World and Hyan arrived to make sure Stat and Roster were okay, while Persephone mocked them all for trying to beat her in an arena. While it was right move to have Persephone compete at Grand Slam, this was the wrong opponent for this moment during the story. Persephone was crowd favourite no matter what she's done, and Stat only got light cheers. Because of the larger story, Stat couldn't really lean into heel roles, kind of setting up an awkward contest. From a pure in-ring perspective, these two are good together, but it would have been better anywhere else, but it's just the wrong location. When Persephone kind of leads to an interesting alliance with Shida at All In. Maya is interesting challenges for the TBS Championship, which may require a multi-woman rivalry to settle this growing rivalry, but overall I'll give it a 4 out of 10. We then got the World Trios Championship match between The Demand versus Brodido and Hangman Page. The Demand took advantage of their opponent's inexperience at first, but they couldn't handle the focused and fresh Hangman. He set the pace, helping Bandido dive onto The Demand. However, Khan and Leona took out the babyfaces and laid into Bandido with a backbreaker into the commercial. The Demand kept control past the break as Ricochet proved too elusive for the babyfaces. Leona showed off his unreal strength for a triple Samoan drop on all three babyfaces, but only got 2 on the pin. After King took out Ricochet and Khan at ringside, the Cowboy and Bandido combined with a buckshot lariat and 21 plex on Leona to win. On a night full of incredible action, this was solid but forgettable. However, the title win will make it talked about. The Cowboy is a champion again, and hopefully with a world title stretch, and he and Brodido can run through the goal for a while. This is a fun dynamic that AEW should lean into past All In. It should be tough for any trio to dethrone them. It's a shame that Demand already lost the goal, but Ricochet has found a way to keep himself and the GO relevant without the titles. They should continue until the time comes for a championship opportunity again. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. We then got the Mexico City street fight between Ospreay and Mark Davis. Ospreay went after Davis immediately, started strong until Davis threw Ospreay into a fan at ringside into the break. Back from the break, the 2-4 on top of the stage where Davis blasted Ospreay on with a board that sent the aerial assassin rolling down the steps. The Auxilla sent Ospreay headfirst into a steel chair in the corner that busted him open. Davis used the fork to further open up the wound. Ospreay fought back and used the fork to also bust Davis. However, Davis responded with a brutal running crucifix pole driver through the chairs for a near fall. The aerial assassin turned the time fully with a crotch grab and a apron pile driver. Davis returned to the ring for a hidden blade for a near fall. Ospreay blocked a running clothesline with barbed wire and landed a Stars Clash for another near fall. Finally, the aerial assassin sealed it by wrapped barbed wire around Davis' head and hitting another hidden blade. Even with the build of this match, the pace of the main event didn't quite land. Davis kicked out multiple times against offense that would have won against every other opponent. It was also never truly a question of who would win, just how much Davis would survive. Still, fun and gory battle that overrun and solidified that they just want to do. That Ospreay's just going to do anything to win at Wembley. With this victory, Ospreay puts one of 2 big losses on his record since returning behind him. For most, though, this will be more than enough to keep the biggest story in EW going for another week. It was a surprise not to see Omega at all, but with his health, it may be best not to push him too much ahead of one of the biggest matches of his career. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Overall, AEW Dynamite this week, I'd say 7 out of 10 from me. The environment of Arena Mexico is unlike just about any other wrestling venue, and that elevates it can't miss. The crowd stayed loud all the way through, giving huge reaction as top style, while the crowd itself never really rose to it. Fletcher Bailey was easily match of the night, though all the contests were at least good. For a show that lasted nearly full 3 hours, much of the action was fairly inconsequential, just leaning into the spectacle. Everything moved at breakneck pace to deliver for a crowd. They probably won't see AEW for another year. If AEW can work out the logistics, this would be a fantastic arena for a feature pay-per-view, delivering a show with stakes and action truly worthy at the moment. No one's going to complain much about what AEW delivered for Grand Slam Mexico, but it's an easy argument that could be made the company could have delivered bigger on the road to All In. But yeah, I'm going to go 7 out of 10.
For this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.